Good morning, children. Today we are going to study the first chapter of History NCERT. What, where, how, and when. Now, what are the topics that we are need to cover in this chapter? What is history? How do we know about our history? How geography and history are related? Timeline of history. Look at these words. Now, what does these words indicate? Or we can say, what does these words tell about? Yes, these words indicate the time. Which time? The past. These words are used to talk about the events that had already happened. Now, the question arises, what is history? Yes, each one of us will say the study of past is history. Is this sentence satisfies the definition? Okay, let us understand. If somebody asks you your daily routine, expected answer will be the routine from the time you wake up till you go to the bed, and that too with the time, with the clock. Similarly, children, the history is also defined in another way. It is study of past, that's true, but it is a study of past in a chronological order. Now, what does the word chronological means now? Chronological means in sequence, event-wise. Sometimes history is also referred as the reconstruction of past. What does the word reconstruction means? Reconstruction means to go back, to collect the events and then arrange them according to their happening. Now, why do we study history? Very simple, children. It helps us to learn from the mistake that we have done in the past, to know the events of the past, and it also teaches us the moral understanding. Now, history and prehistory. History is divided into two, history and prehistory. Both history and prehistory is the study of the past, but the only difference lies is that in prehistory, no written records are available, and for studying history, written records are available. Artifacts are the only sources to study the past in prehistory. Now, we are ready to describe the first question tag of our topic. What? What do we study in history? About the life and the lifestyles of different people who existed in the past. Now, the second question, where? Where did the people live? Yes, they lived at the places where resources and water was easily available. This mind map helps to tell you the different places where the people lived in the past and exploited the resources. This map is referred to as the map of the subcontinent. Now, here we need to understand the word subcontinent. Subcontinent is a part which is smaller than a continent, right? But it's bigger than the state, right? Here, India is also referred to as a subcontinent as it is very, very large and is separated by the rest of the Asia by seas, hills, and mountains. Here you could just make out the different places where people lived during the early times. River Narmada in central India. This is the place where the hunter and gatherers lived. It's a forested area. So the hunter and gatherers collected their food and hunted the animals. Suleiman and the Kirtar Hills in the northwest, in present Pakistan. It is supposed to be the place where the wheat and barley was first grown. Then the Garo Hills and the Vindhyas. Vindhyas is the place where the rice was grown first. How did India got its name? Right? India got its name from the river Indus, which is known as Sindhu in Sanskrit. The Persians and the Iranians called the India as the Indos or the Endos. According to Rigved, people who lived in the northwest were known as Bharat, and thus the name Bharat. Now, the next question. How do we know about the past? The third question tag of our topic. We'll just tag your example. If you just want to know about your childhood, how do you know about it? Yes, of course, by the people who are living with you, nearby you, your parents, your grandparents, right? And if in case any old things have been preserved or kept. Similarly, children, in history, we know about the past by two important sources, which is known as the archaeological and the literary sources. In the same way, the people who live with you, your photographs, your things, they act as a source. Similarly, archaeological and literary are the also sources that helps to know the past. Archaeological and literary sources are also known as historical sources as they help to study the past. The archaeological sources include the artifacts and the articles that were used in the past time, and it is also referred to as the prehistoric sources. Whereas the literary sources are the written sources, which help us to know about the past. Finding about the past. Very important to understand, children. Manuscripts and inscriptions. Manuscripts are the written record because the word manuscript comes from the manu, which means hand, and script is writing. So handwritten records are known as the manuscripts. They were basically written on the palm leaves or the bark of the birch tree. And manuscript is considered as a literary source, whereas inscription is a writing on a hard surface. And inscriptions are considered as the archaeological source. Who studies the past? Now, the archaeologists and the historians are the people who study the past. Archaeologists explore and excavate the earth to find different articles or the objects, whereas historians uses clues and sources from literary as well as the archaeological sources to study the past. Now, as I told you previously, that your parents, grandparents, they are the sources for you. So what is a source in history now? The sources are the clues that helps to provide the information to both the archaeologists and historians to study the past. Now, we are at the last question tag of our topic, when. Very important, children. When refers to a time when particular event has happened. Thus, a timeline is very, very helpful to study the past and date. Basically, all dates are calculated before and after the birth of Jesus. Some historians consider 0 as the birth of Jesus and some consider 1. But we just need to understand all dates before the birth of the Jesus are counted backward and have suffix BC, that is before Christ. It's also referred to as BCE, before Common Era. All dates after the birth of the Jesus are counted afterwards and have prefix AD, that is Anno Domini, means in the year of Lord. It is also referred to as CE, that is the Common Era. As already said, children, be very, very important to understand that BC is used after the date and AD is used before the date. Okay, before we end up with the session, let's test our knowledge. What is history? I hope now each one of you are ready to define history. History is the study of past in a chronological order. What are the different sources of history? Archaeological and literary. What is a subcontinent? Subcontinent is very large and is separated from the rest of in Asia by seas, hills, and mountains. Where are Garo Hills situated? Garo Hills are situated in the northeast. What is the source? Source are like clues which gives the information about the past. What is the writing on a hard surface known as? Writing in a hard surface is known as inscriptions. Where were manuscripts preserved? Manuscripts are preserved in the temples and monasteries. How are historians and archaeologists are like detectives? Historians and archaeologists are like detectives as they use the sources as clues to find about the past. Hope you have enjoyed the session. Do read the chapter thoroughly to be very aware and get more information about it. Thank you so much, children. Have a great day.